anyway. The doctor on the line said she'd get me in that day. Dr. Juice, Sister Squeeze, Dr. Juice, Sister Squeeze. Satisfaction guarantee. For that you gotta pay. She said she'd fix my body in that old-fashioned way. She wrapped her arms around me, squeezed me till I popped. She said she'd keep it coming till she heard me holler stop. Dr. Juice, Sister Squeeze, Dr. Juice, Sister Squeeze. She fed me with the soup spoon and fed me. I was tripping like a baboon on the Serengeti. She said second session. She said Saturday sounds so sweet. She said she'd fix my ankle, put the rhythm in my feet. Dr. Juice, Sister Squeeze, Dr. Juice, Sister Squeeze.
Good evening. How you doing? How's everybody doing tonight? My name is Lee Love, and this is Photo Mentor TV. We do this every on this first Tuesday of the month. This is the photo review evening. I think you guys will enjoy this tonight. We got some great images to show you, and hopefully you've got some audio. I had something crash here right at the last minute, but I think we're doing okay, so we'll see. Let's see here. First of all, I want to thank you guys. I really, really do appreciate everyone here. I appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. It's continuing to grow little by little, and I appreciate that. It means an awful lot to me. You don't know how much work goes into this, and sometimes you wonder if it's worth it. So thank you very, very much for everyone that subscribes and leaves comments and contacts me. So let me explain a little bit about how this works and why I do these things. First of all, I do this because, I know what it's like to struggle and to not get the right kind of feedback on my work. And it's very, very frustrating. And I spend a lot of time in Facebook groups and other forums and things like that. And one of the things I noticed was that the feedback, if you want to call it that, is very, very lame. In fact, it's likes or dislikes. Likes don't mean anything. In other words, I'll tell you in a minute about how I look at your work tonight. But it's not about whether I like it or not. It's whether it works or not. And I find that people don't ask enough questions when they're giving input. And of course, the biggest problem is, of course, most of the input is technical. And that is not what I do here. I mean, if you ask me if you want technical input on your work, I certainly can do that. And occasionally I'll mention a thing or two if it's really obvious. But the point is, the reason I don't do that is the easiest thing to fix. It's not about one dial, one button change, one aperture setting can be an exposure change or a focus change. And that's so simple to fix. So that's why I don't dwell on that. I also don't dwell on the toning or the coloring of an image a little bit because that's very personal. But what I do talk about is the visual grammar of the images. And so one thing I use for that is something they call the 7 elements of art. And it's, of course, if you're never familiar with these, they're line, shape, form, space, texture, value, and color. And these are the things that that I try to use as guidelines to help you improve your work. That, of course, in composition, composing, framing, that type of thing. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you about visual grammar of art is to give you an example. And now, if you've watched this show before, you've seen me use this, but I like to repeat it because we have a lot of new viewers. One of the things that most people don't realize when I talk about visual grammar, what am I talking about? They don't understand that, and I get that. What I mean by that is that just like in writing, and in fact, I'll show you one of my favorite quotes tonight, and that is from Andre Cortez. It says, it isn't the alphabet that's important. The important thing is what you are writing, what you're expressing. And it's the same goes for photography. He's absolutely right. So what he's talking about here is it's not about the words per se. It's not about the grammar or how it's used. It's what you're trying to say with your work. And it's the same thing here. If you don't understand, just like with a sentence, if you don't understand how to structure a sentence, then the words don't mean anything, right? So for example, let me show you this. So here's a bunch of words, and they don't really mean, if you try and read it, continent, nation, are the conceived fathers, they're just words put together, right? They don't mean anything, and that's because they don't use the proper grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. So they're just gibberish. It's the same thing with photography. A lot of us go out and we photograph things, and we are photographing images that we're documenting. We think, oh, it's pretty, so I want to take a photo. I want to try and capture that. But what really is important in your work and what moves people, what compels them to want to buy your work or use your work or just enjoy your work, is that it has a message, that it says something. There's a story behind it. So again, if we look at this right here, this are just words. This is what a lot of photographs look like. They're just images. There's elements. But if you put it together in the proper form and use the right grammar, it happens to become the Gettysburg Address. So this is an analogy that I use to show you the same thing is going on with your photography. If you don't understand the 7 elements of art, and you don't understand composition, or what I call visual grammar, then all you're going to get is just a bunch of gibberish and words, and it really won't mean anything to anybody. Okay, so that's how we do reviews here on Photo Mentor. And the reason I do that is because this is what's the hardest to learn. The technical stuff is so easy to learn. I can teach that to anybody, but it is the technical stuff that is difficult to learn, and that are the creative aspects that's difficult to learn, and that's what I want to get across. Okay, so let's see here. I think we're pretty much, let's dive right into it. Got some great images tonight. One thing I want to mention is that I've made a simple change in the way this will happen next month. I didn't do it this month, but now when you submit your photos, there's a little checkbox or a yes and no, and you can decide whether you want your images to be anonymous or not. Let me explain why I did that. I originally did the images anonymously, which I'll do tonight, and that is because I didn't want to embarrass anybody. I would never do that anyway. People that know me know I'm here to encourage you, not embarrass you. But I didn't want people to be afraid to submit a photo because they felt maybe it wasn't good enough or something like that. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to feel you can submit any photo you want, any camera, any phone. That's not the issue. I want to see you grow. I want to see you get better. So that's why I was doing this anonymously. But some people don't care. They want their name on this stuff. So I decided to add a checkbox there where you can decide whether you want it anonymously or not. Doesn't matter. I'll probably only use your first name anyway. But because I can't pronounce a lot of people's last names, to be honest, that's the honest truth. But anyway, so now in the future you'll be able to check box if you want it anonymous or not. So, all right, so let's get into the first image here. So this here, I guess. Yeah, okay. So the first image is really, really nice. This one was submitted by PS, and PS has been shooting about 5 years, so they certainly have, know their camera, know their way around their camera. And the struggles, I always ask you when you submit your work, what's the biggest thing you're having trouble with? Not that it relates exactly to tonight and photo reviews, but I like to know the issues you're having difficulty with, you're struggling with, that I need to concentrate on. And PS is said that one that's very common as business marketing and getting clients. And I totally understand that. So here's something I'm going to offer to you guys. Anyone that submitted a photo tonight, if you will contact me, I know you know how to get a hold of me via email. If you will contact me, give you this information anyway. If you will contact me, I will set up a free coaching session, and we'll go over what your business issues are, what your market looks like, who you're trying to get as clients, and I will help you with that in any way I can, give you some advice to help you grow your market. So contact me, PS. You know who you are, and we'll schedule something the next week or two. Okay, so this image right here is an annual rodeo course, and they were looking to practice on some low light situations, and so they were, I don't know if it's a new camera or not, but they were pushing their ISO to see what they could get shooting wide open. And this was shot on a 70-200 Tamron lens, which is a really nice G2 lens. I don't normally ask for this kind of information, but she left it, so I'll share it with you anyway. At 800th of a second, but the best part was it was shot at 25,600 ISO. Now, to me, this image looks pretty darn clean. But even if it didn't, it's something that people are really almost anal about, and that is noise. I didn't see noise in this image, but even if there was, it wouldn't matter. The only people that care, now I know you may not believe me on this, the only people that care about noise or whatever you want to call it, and grain in your image, is you and other photographers. Your client never ever cares. I've never, in the 30 plus years I've been shooting, I've never had anyone complain about the image, the noise, grain, anything like that. And I've shot everything from photojournalism to commercial advertising photography. So, you know, it's all about getting this shot. Think about it as a photojournalist. If an image is just amazing and it captures a moment, which is what this image does, by the way, then who cares about the noise? You don't even see it. So anyway, this image right here, it really, really works. And it works for a couple of reasons. I went into all this technical stuff after I told you I don't normally do that, so I apologize. But yeah, it works for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons it works is because she did a great job of capturing the moment. She got his hands up, she got his arms up. Now, mostly in sports, and I would consider this a sports photo. Normally in sports, you want to see the person's eyes, but in this one, in this situation, it works anyway, even though that's not the case. It works also because, again, she captured that moment right there. Good timing on this one. Very, very good on that. Also, the composition is really, really nice. Let's see if I have this set up right here. Yeah, okay. So the composition is set up nice. Let's see here. I think I got this right. Sorry. Should have done this ahead of time, and I did not. But I can come up with a better color than this. Use it. Okay. So composition-wise, it's very, very nice. Got it right here, like this. Okay. Also, this person right here is over on this third of the frame. Didn't center them. These cowboys over here are looking at what's going on. They're watching. It's not quite dead space, but you could consider that. Some people would consider what's called white space, although it's not really white space. But it really, this image, and so the point is the composition works, the image works, the moment works. Good job on this one, PS, and I applaud you for this one. So nice job. All right. So let's go to the next one here. The next one is also from PS. This is also well done. Same kind of thing. Good composition. Low light is always a challenge, of course, for any of us, no matter what the technology is or what the camera is. But same situation, practicing, you know, trying to see what their camera can do in a low light situation. Again, same kind of thing as far as composition is concerned. Instead of putting it in the center, nice job of putting, now this here is in the center, but that's okay. This is in the center, but still the image is going to the right. Now, normally I would suggest on an image like this that you do the opposite, that you have more empty space in the frame, leading the frame, so it doesn't look like it's so tight. You can do it like this if you want, if you're trying to create tension in an image, and this definitely has some tension to it, but it still works because you've got the onlookers over here, the trying to see what's going on. The image is sharp, so yes, and it's still the composition is nice. Again, rule of thirds if you want to look at that, and so that's it works. It just good job. I mean, these are really nice. I don't know if you're shooting for anyone or if you're just doing this for yourself, but whoever it is, your client should be pretty happy with it, if that's what you're doing this with. And if you're not, we should talk about that. And if you set up your call with me, we'll talk about what you're doing for the rodeo and maybe some potential clients you can look for in that. Okay, one more here. Okay, so the next one is, you know, I guess I just realized that I was marking this up and I didn't have it on the screen, didn't I? Sorry about that. So anyway, so so here's another one. This is the same image. Now this one's not as strong an image as the first two. Now some may think, oh, it's because the other's in black and white. It's not that. It's just the composition and the story is just not quite as strong. Again, I would probably on this one I would have framed it a little different. Now look, you don't always have the option of doing everything you want to do with these things, right? Let's see, why is this not? Should be showing up and it's not. Oh, my connection for some. That's weird. Oh well. So on this one right here, again, it's still a strong image, but it's just not as strong as the other two. A little bit of room on the right would probably, again, it'd be nice if that same spacing was on the left-hand side of the frame. That would be a little bit more helpful. It's interesting if you've done any rodeo work, and I have, and I really enjoy photographing rodeos and really behind the scenes, talking to the cowboys, stuff like that. You can see the clown underneath the bull there, trying to draw the bull away so he doesn't go after the rider. It's a very dangerous sport. These guys are pretty amazing. Anyway, it's still a good image, but it's not as strong as the other two. Now, again, I just said I don't really talk too much about toning, so it's a little warm. I wonder what it'd be like if you were to maybe try and white balance it just a little bit, because to me, now, why would that be? Okay, and the reason is because when you talk about toning or an image, the reason you want to do that is you want to try and finish or convey an emotion. Again, remember, we're storytellers. So what you're trying to do is help strengthen or make that story a little stronger. So for example, with this image right here, it's a little warm. Now, that's fine, except that it's kind of an intense moment, and I'm not sure the toning works with that. So for me, I'd want a little cooler, make it a little more angry, or I don't know, more tension to it. But that's up to you. Again, very personal decision. You have to decide what you want. But other than that, that'd be good. But so the composition is the thing that's the big issue there, and that would be that you probably want to frame it a little differently to the right or to the left. I mean, okay. But still, excellent work. P.S. I mean, your stuff is solid. I've watched a lot. You've submitted a lot of stuff. I really do. Thank you guys for submitting your work. I enjoy looking at what you're working on, and it's very, very solid. So reach out to me. Let's talk about your business and your marketing and what you're doing in that area and see if I can help you in that area. Okay. The next one. Now, this one was submitted by RS. RS has been shooting about 1 to 2 years. And they've submitted some really nice work in the past. They also are having some struggles with business, marketing, and getting clients, of course. And the other one is posing. And this is kind of obvious in this photo right here. I'm going to talk to you about that. It says, I'm struggling when using her Olympus camera, which is a micro four thirds. And I'll mention why that's important in a moment. Because how far back she has to stand. She misses a lot, whether it's to be in focus or backdrop, and so she spends a lot of time editing. So the reason that is because this is the camera I'm using here. I have a number of micro four thirds cameras. They're great. I love them for video especially. But because the sensor's a little smaller, the focal length is a little longer. So in other words, a 50 millimeter on a micro four thirds would be 2 times crop factor, is what they call it. So essentially it's 100 millimeters. So to get the same distance, it's not the same look, by the way. If you've watched my other videos on lens selection on crop versus full frame, then you'll see what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is the distance that you have to stand to get the same framing. And that is that, so you're probably having to stand a little farther back than you want. So, and I thought you had purchased a little wider lens. So I would suggest maybe looking at a 17, which would be a 35 millimeter lens, or a 25, which would be a 50 millimeter lens on your camera. And I think I have both of those, and see what that does for you. That will work. Or you can get a zoom lens. They make a really nice, Olympus makes one, and also Panasonic makes one. I shoot with the Panasonic. I did have Olympus, but either one, I think they make a 35 to 70, 35. What is that thing? No, it's a 17 to 35, I think it is. So that gives you almost a 24 to 70 lens, which would be a good general purpose lens for your camera. But again, reach out, talk to me. You guys, I know we chat from time to time, but if you need to talk, let's set up a call, and I'll help you on this stuff. Anyone that's submitted a photo tonight, you guys just let me know. Okay, so she goes on to say that Brooklyn is very close to me, one of the strongest young women I know. I felt this image really showed how strong and brave, determined, and proud she is, and she deserves to be. Okay, so now this is kind of my expertise, or my area I love to focus on. That's photographing people. So let me tell you kind of some things you might want to look at to strengthen this. This is so RS. First of all, you rarely ever want to photograph someone straight on. It's just not very flattering. It looks kind of like a mug shot, as we call it. So you want to have them at a little bit of an angle. That will also help. It also again draws your attention to the subject. So typically, what I will do is, if I will have them look. So I don't. The light looks like it's coming on this side from your right-hand side. Okay. So what I would have done is had her look to the right, look with her face into the light, or her shoulders, I would say. Position her shoulders so they're facing where the light is coming in. That's kind of long lighting, they call it. And then have her look at you. So turn her face toward you. And that gives a little bit of an angle on the shoulders, but it's going to help her facial features. Also, the other thing you can do is have them stand, especially for a woman, put her weight on her back foot. Okay, turn her back foot at a little bit of an angle, put her weight on that foot, and then stick her front foot forward. And that will also shift her weight back a little bit. What you're trying to do with this is you're trying to work on the shoulders. If you look, she's kind of leaning a little bit forward, look a little hunched over. You want to kind of correct that. They're going to look much nicer if they can put their shoulders back a little bit and sit back straight, or sit back at an angle. So that would have been a little nicer on this one. She is, so if you want someone to look a little strong, I mentioned this to you before, I've mentioned before, not to you maybe, but if you want somebody to look a little stronger, what you're trying to do, again, you've already told me you're trying to tell a story here, whether you mention it or not. You said you mentioned a number of words about this woman being strong, determined, that kind of thing, and that's what you're trying to convey. That's, again, back to what we're talking about with this visual grammar. If that's the case, then what you want to do is look, and you're looking right at her eye line. I would look down. I would kneel down just a little bit, or put her up on something just a little bit. But if you don't have to be dramatic, but if you get down just a little bit and shoot up on that, it will give you a little bit more sense of strength. Now, I don't have anything here, but that's what typically I use that a lot when I'm doing sports photography, sports portraits. I want that person to look powerful, whether a boxer or a roller derby girl or whatever. Somebody that has a lot of strength, I want them to look powerful. So I'll shoot up on them just a little bit. Doesn't be too much, but it will make a big difference. And that would have helped in this image as well. So watch those shoulders, turn them a little bit of an angle, and shoot up on them would have helped in this image quite a bit. Okay. So let's see what else. So this one here. Okay. So this one, before we get into this one, let me go back one. Before we go back into this next image, I wanted to mention something to you guys before we get going here. And that is, Oh, hey, Tamara, how are you tomorrow? How are you doing? Thanks very much for joining me tonight, guys. And so anyway, before I get started into showing you this next image, I wanted to mention, I know you guys have got the email I've sent you if you're on my email list, and so I don't mean to beat you over the head with this, but I'm really working hard on, and I want to make sure if you're not on my email list, you don't know about this, that I've mentioned it to you, and that is the art of seeing, and that's this new. I don't. It's kind of a podcast slash radio drama kind of a thing. And what it is, it's an audio only show that combines three elements. And these are things that kind of make it innovative. Nobody's really doing this that I've ever seen. Number one, it's entertaining. The idea is that you would enjoy it and that you will have fun. Not something that's boring. Again, something you can do. I think we talked about before, washing dishes, driving the car. I like to go on walks sometimes, listen to podcasts. So that's the idea. So it's something entertaining, something you look forward to, not heavy, get away from the world a little bit. The second element, though, that is really important is the educational element. So every week, I try and incorporate some element of education into this. Maybe small, maybe big, but it depends. But it's all something these are things that I've learned in my lessons as a photographer, and they're also things you've told me. So I really love to hear from you guys, and when I work with you, you tell me the struggles you're having, maybe a problem you've had with a client, whatever. So I use that as inspiration to be able to incorporate those into this audio broadcast. And the third thing is it's pretty innovative. Nobody, again, has done this to my knowledge. I don't want to make this a big deal because it's not, but all the characters are done using text-to-speech. So it's pretty cool in the way I've done it, and I think the work is great. Now, why have I done that? The reason I've used that technology is twofold. Number one, the time and expense and incorporating, and it would just take a lot longer to produce. But the main reason is this technology is only going to get better and better. So I wanted to jump in early while it's still evolving, because I know this is basically the worst it's going to ever get, right? It's just going to always get better. And I wanted to be able to figure out how this technology works and use it. So anyway, I'm going to play something. If you haven't seen this, or you guys probably already seen, many of you have seen this. If not, I'm going to play this for you real quick. It's only 58 seconds, and then we'll come back and...
Hi, my name is Mackenzie, and if you're as passionate about photography as I am, then I would love to have you join me on my journey as I try to establish myself in the competitive world of photography. You and I might even have some of the same struggles, such as the lack of experience and self-confidence. Sound familiar? Or my own insecurities and doubts that I'm not good enough. I hope you're not dealing with other photographers like JD who want to see me fail because I don't know all the techno-babble he does. In each episode, I share what I have learned about lighting, editing, and running a business. So who knows, we might be able to help each other? To find out more about me and to keep up with the challenges and yes, hopefully my success, then visit photomentorradio.com.
Hopefully that worked okay for you guys. Didn't sound quite right in my earpiece, but that could have been something different. Anyway, so if you go to photomentorradio.com, that will take you to a page which has a listing of all the different places you can listen to this. There's a whole bunch of them. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, pretty much anywhere you listen to your usual podcast. If you subscribe to any of them, you can listen to this there. And I'd appreciate if you guys would subscribe to it, check it out. But more importantly, I'd love to have you guys give me your feedback and input, because that's what's going to make this better. So anyway, appreciate you letting me talk about that a little bit, because I'm very excited about it. It's a really cool project, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So, okay. So the next image is, whoops, wrong one. The next image is this one right here, which I sort of showed you. This one was submitted by HS, and HS says they're dealing with exposure and posing as well. Very common. I should mention, you guys, I have a whole thing I've started working on for posing, a whole posing guide. I guess I started it and then I kind of put it aside, some other things going on, and never got back to it. Sounds like I need to make that a higher priority. Anyway, the other struggle that HS is having, HS has been shooting for 5 years or more, so they're very well experienced, and their work obviously shows it. Is they're going from, apparently they're transitioning from a Canon to a Sony, and still figuring out how things work. Yeah, I'm. A lot of people have done that. I've tried both of them. I'm not either. I stuck with my Nikon. So, anyway, and you know my approach, right? Not the camera anyway. So on this one right here, HS says they had a foggy morning the last day heading home, and they saw this spider web along the road, so they jumped out and took a photo of it, which is great. I love that. You know, it's you never want to go on a photo trip or vacation with your camera with someone that's not a photographer, because this is exactly what happens. You want to jump out at every moment and kind of take a picture of something. And so, and the other people don't really care about that, not probably. So, anyway, kind of funny. All right, so nice image on this one, good composition, again, vertical image, which is great, and it's symmetrically very interesting. I think it looks nice, you know. What does it say? I don't know. That's the only other problem, is that, you know, there are a lot of nice images that people shoot, myself included, but they're not really that important to me because they don't say a whole lot. They're pretty, if you want to call them that, and they're interesting, but for me, a photo has to have more than that, a little more depth than that. And this is one that's interesting. I like it. Would you hang it on your wall? Don't know. Probably not, but it's interesting. And, of course, nice depth of field, of course. So, anyway, thanks very much on that one. This is another one, the same that HS also submitted. I'm sorry, submitted, and they like the leaf, the lacy leaf. And this one's interesting. And the reason I like this one, is that it has a little more depth to it. By using that foreground and the flower in the background, it gives the image a little more depth, and that makes it, to me, a more interesting. Could be a little more light on it, maybe, but it is kind of in the shade, and it works. I think the image works, even though it's centered. That's okay. In this case, it works just fine. So a nice image on that. Okay, and this other one was submitted by MT, and they've been shooting about 1 to 2 years, and their struggle are very much like a lot of us, focusing and lighting, of course. And MT, as I'll mention to everybody else, if you want to set up a time to talk about what you're doing and you're shooting, let me know. We'll schedule something. We'll get an hour, half an hour, or an hour together to talk about how if you're having trouble with lighting, how you can work on that. I was teasing you guys, I think, once before. Don't quit submitting photos of kitties, because you know I love kitties. It's not fair. And but this is interesting because you've got a nice image there on the right that kind of keeps the framing there instead of it just being out of focused image. But obviously the cat is seeing something. They're really lasered in on something. And it's nice. It's a good image, yeah. Composition-wise, it's good. I don't know. Hard to take a bad picture of a cute cat, in my opinion. But nice image. I'd be curious what the cat's name is. You didn't give me that. That would have been a bonus. So, So I don't know what else I can tell you on that one. Just it's a nice image. It's a good job. Good capture. Seems like all my cat for some reason, so I bring out the camera, they take off. I don't know what it is. I think the camera's shy. Okay. This is one of my favorites, and I'll tell you why in a second. But again, it's not a like or dislike thing. It's my favorite submission and the reason is because OT been shooting for 5 years. They claim their issues are editing, lighting, composition, posing, business, creativity, which is everything. Okay, so which I don't buy, by the way. That's why I'm telling you about it. You are better at these things than you think you are. This is their dog Nugget. He's 15, and she's always taking photos of him. He's great, like character, and wants to preserve that, which is kind of interesting because I have a friend of mine who also has had a couple of dachshunds, and she had me actually take pictures of her and one of them because she knew she was gonna pass away. But anyway, here's my point on this thing. Here's what I love about this picture, and one thing you say is that they want to become a pet photographer. And here's my comment: you're already a pet photographer. There is nothing wrong with this image. This image looks great. Okay. If you can do this kind of work for your client, then you are already a pet photographer. I've seen some of your other work, and I've seen it improve. So quit thinking of yourself as a pet photographer and be a pet photographer. You already are a pet photographer. So just do more of that. And now, why does this image work? Okay, if you could do this kind of work for your client, then they would be thrilled. All right, now, why does this image work? A couple of reasons. Number one, and this is kind of more not photography per se, you're connected to this animal. You love this animal. You know this animal. And so therefore your images tend to be stronger, I've seen, with Nugget than you have with other animals. And it's because you have a connection. Try and get in touch with that connection with these other pets. Maybe you can meet them ahead of time, learn more about them, see if they have the family member has photos they can send you, get an idea of what they like. Do they have certain toys? Just like you would a person, try and get to know the animal. And that'll help you become a better photographer, a better pet photographer. Looking at this image, okay, so there's a couple things about the photo itself that really work. Number one, the composition is excellent. Okay, you've got nice rule of thirds there. It's not centered. Got that wedge in the middle. Your eye goes directly to the dog. Okay, the dog is looking either right at you or very, very close to you. So there's somebody who's got his attention. So even though he's in those rocks, he looks comfortable. And of course the little jacket's kind of cute. So you already are a pet photographer. You just need more of these kind of images, and you need to find the clients that want this kind of work, and you'll do really, really well. Again, OT, please reach out. Let's talk about this. I can help you with this if you give me some input on what you're doing, on your market, who's around, who else is doing this kind of stuff in your area. We can get you some business on this. It's not that hard. Well, it is kind of hard, but it's not as hard as you think it is. So let's kind of work on that and see if we can come up with something. So, all right. This next one is an available light photo, you said, and your composition elements and landscape. The composition is good on this one. Again, got it's instead of putting the horizon right at the center, you've got nice rule of thirds. You got thirds of the top of the mountain, top of the water, rule of thirds on the left. It's a nice looking image. The color is great. The color gives it some depth. Remember I talked about this right here, and where color falls in this particular, and also something called value. Value would be the tone, whether it's black and white, but it also applies here. but because that background is because that background is a little lighter, it's your eyes drawn to it, so the color gives this image some depth. It doesn't say a whole lot to me as an image because I wasn't there. You probably know the image, you probably know that area better than I do. But as far as a nice image and well executed as a photographer, good job on this. So OT, reach out. Let's talk about your pet photography. We need to get you going on that. I know it's something that you really want to do. I know it's something you're struggling with. So, okay. All right, so the last image we have is one, I think I may have this wrong. Hang on here. Nope, I guess not. This last image is one submitted by TJ. Now, TJ is a working professional, does a lot of amazing work I've been helping him with. And this one, he says he's always seeking new perspectives to photograph. So what's so special about this one? Why does it work? It works, again, because of the depth. Okay, think of it this way. We're photographing a three-dimensional world, right? But we're photographing it with a two-dimensional technology. There is no depth in a photograph, so you have to fake the depth, if you want to call it that, or use the depth. And that's why new photographers are all into the bokeh and the blurry background, because they think it looks professional. It does look nice, but the reason you do that is to give the image depth and to make your subject stand out from the background. That's the whole purpose. Same thing here. Look at what's going on here. Now there's some backgrounds out of focus, bokeh, but that's not that in this particular image is not what gives it the depth. It's the fact that there's layers. Look at the layers of the grass in front of the bird as opposed to the ones in the back, and the fact that he's sticking his nose through that. You can see there's depth. You know there's depth. And so therefore, it really helps sell the image and makes it very realistic. Of course, the colors is the other thing that works with this image. You've got nice green grass, and then you've got the oranges and the yellows with the bird, and so they're very complementary in that way if you look at them on the color wheel. So this is a very good image as well. It works really well. And I didn't even see that. So anyway. It works. It's a good image. It works very well. Nice way to go. And so again, and the reason it works is because of the color and the depth it puts in the image. It looks three-dimensional even though it's a two-dimensional image, and that's one of the things that makes it work. Of course, the subject is nice as well. He's obviously seeing something there, maybe a fish or something like that. So, okay. I think that's all the images we have tonight. Let me one thing, I want to go back and just kind of review the quote I gave you earlier, and if you missed it, and that is, the alphabet is not that important. The important thing that when you're writing is the expression, the story. It's the same thing goes for photography, is what he's trying to say. It's the story, it's not the elements. And unfortunately, when most people think it's the elements, they think it's the lenses or the cameras or that kind of, it's not. And again, let's see if I can bring this up because I couldn't do it before. There we go. So, and this is again what I was talking about, was telling a story. These are words. They're the same words I'm going to show you in a second, except they're out of order and there's no punctuations, there's no grammar, there's nothing. It's just words, okay? But when you put them in the right order and you use the language, the English language, to express his words, now all of a sudden you have something that's meaningful, like the Gettysburg Address. And that's what I'm trying to get across here with you guys. That's what I'm trying to get you to remember, is that it's all about organization and learning to use these tools and what they mean and how to use them. So in other words, nouns, verbs, things like that all play a role when doing sentence structure, correct? It's the same thing with photography. All of these things, line, space, shape, color, as I try to bring out more and more tonight, are all have an element and bring to or make a difference in your image. They're not just pretty. They don't just make the image pretty. They make they help tell and reinforce the story. So anyway, and I want to say hello to Sue Ann. Hi, Sue Ann. And of course, Sue Ann, Allie, and everybody else is in here. Thank you very much, guys. It's always nice to see you guys in here. I appreciate it. Hi. All right, so I'm going to leave you with this. If you've submitted an image tonight, if you're one of the people who submitted an image, you know how to get a hold of me. Set up a time. Send me an email. Let's set up a time to schedule a coaching session with you. We'll go over whatever you want, but these things you talk about, lighting, focusing, business primarily is another one you guys, almost everyone mentioned. If that's the issue, let's talk about it. And you may be surprised at the things I come up with to tell you potential clients you can work with. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I really would appreciate it if you guys would check out The Art of Seeing with Mackenzie, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Appreciate that. And other than that, we will see. I'm still working on. I've got a couple things going on. There's a new episode of that coming up that I've got to finish up here. But I'm not killing myself. That's the reason I've decided not to do that. Just take my time and do it right. And the other thing is, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but on the channel I've also started doing something called the Photo Mentor Minutes, which is 10 minutes or less, short videos, little soundbite things of things I'm working on. I've got one of those in the works as well. So anyway, hey, listen, guys, thank you very, very much. I appreciate you. Again, I know I mentioned to you earlier, I appreciate the people that have been subscribing lately. It's great to have you guys on board. It makes me realize that we're doing something right at least. And so anyway, thanks again. And hey, listen, take care, everybody, and keep shooting.